Good morning, my peoples. It's your main man, Dr. Life, in the business of saving lives. You got 21 days to cash in, cash out. Monopoly versus cash flow. We in the business of saving lives. First responders responding to man-made disasters. Artificial, unnatural, man-made disasters. You gotta remember Nipsey Hussle. You gotta remember Malcolm X. You gotta remember Dr. Martin Luther King. You gotta remember John F. Kennedy. You gotta remember Abraham Lincoln. Because those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. Those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. What's the common denominator? What is the common denominator between Nipsey Hussle, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Abraham Lincoln? Every last one of them are involved in righting the wrongs, the injustice of economic oppression. It's called usury. Usury is debt slavery. Usury is rigging the monetary system to cause those around you, your brothers, to become debt slaves in a rigged system against them that they can never get out of. Just like the King of Kings, the Messiah came, turned over the tables of the money changers. They crucified him. Nipsey Hussle showed gang members that you could lay down the drugs. You could lay down the killing. And if you invest in yourself, and if you learn a skill, and if you stand for some principles, you could create a new cash flow system besides the one that society tries to paint a picture that you have to go into when you come up in the concrete jungle. Malcolm X did the same thing. Malcolm X was a part of an organization, and then when his eyes was open, when he went to Mecca and he saw, what Elijah Muhammad and what Farrakhan is pushing to our people and what they live in on the day-to-day, is a charade. And the moment he started making the move, once his eyes was open, he gotta go. Dr. Martin Luther King. Marches with the NAACP and SNCC and all of these clowns that's selling you out. And the moment he realized that the federal government had no intentions of making his community whole financially, and just simply wanted to sign a civil rights bill to pacify, to make it appear as if there was a semblance of equality, all while taking the same people right headlong into a Vietnam War. And Dr. Martin Luther King said, I don't care who I done marched with. I don't care. Listen, I'm not about to lead these people into fighting this war. We don't got no problem with the Vietnamese. We got a problem with economic injustice. We got a problem with the trash workers in Tennessee. They let Jimmy Hoffa in. They let the mob. They let the Teamsters. Because they the right color. You got unions all today because as long as they controlling the money, it's cool. But whenever somebody from the chosen people of God, the original, the firstborn, first created, because the reason you can't be the head is because you will remind individuals of their original covenant. And it's not to the Greek and Roman gods which the West has attached you to. You cannot. So they got these book clubs out here. Oprah Winfrey got a book club. And what you need to know and understand is this whole system is rigged by codes. See this book? The Richest Man in Babylon. This is a book about financial principles. All right? So we starting our book club. If Oprah Winfrey can start a book club, and millions of people follow her and consume that trash she's selling, then we're going to start the book clubs. And we're going to show you the offense and defense in the codes, in the underlying codes of how they're programming you. What's important about The Richest Man in Babylon? The creator had already established a creation code. The creator had already established a creation code in the beginning. The creator had already created the law on how his people were to function. And the Babylonians, Nimrod, Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonians wanted to worship sun gods, so they created the very first counterfeit opposite code, written code laws. Every book in the history of mankind, every civilization, every kingdom, every government has been formed out of the Hammurabi codes, which were the very first laws written in stone. Grandson of Nimrod, Hammurabi, wrote some codes, and your whole life in the East and in the West extends out of the written codes of how all the Hammurabi codes was us sun worshipers who worship the sun as God. We are the children of the sun. We are gods on earth. And we are the highest class. My descendants are descendants of the sun god, so we are royals. And then I am the chief priest of the priesthood, and all other priests that serve my worship as being a sun god on earth. My priests, my ministers are the second class. The royals, the priests. Under the priest are my police, my military, to enforce the laws that I state, the worship of me and my royal family. The police and the military will enforce, mind you, this is all contrary to the original law that the Creator gave his children. And they created governments and kingdoms. Nimrod created 10 kingdoms. And then the Most High God came and called Abraham out of the second kingdom that Nimrod created, and said, yo, I already gave y'all my law. Come out here, go to a land where you can remind the world. This is why I said remember. Remember Martin Luther King. Remember. See, when people's eyes get open and people remember, learn like Abraham. Yo, I'm in Babylon. God calling me out of Babylon back to the original prosperity. Everything going on in Babylon is counterfeit, artificial, unnatural. And then at the bottom rung of the Babylonian society, at the bottom rung, after he put his family, the priest, the police, the nobles or the governors, who will take a cut of the riches to manage the common slaves. It's called a class society or a caste society, because the royals write the script. This is where you get scripture. Write the script for how to worship them as the sun gods on earth. And of course, those in the royal family, those in the priesthood, those in the police and the military, the enforcers, and those in the governors, of course, they maintain the greatest wealth. And The Richest Man in Babylon is a book on financial principles about how to, as a person in this rigged, fake, artificial, counterfeit, ungodly, unnatural system, how to generate wealth within the system. Don't address the fact that the system is unnatural and ungodly. Don't address the fact that the laws are rigged. Don't address the fact that God always calls his children to remember the original power, the original creator, the original covenant with him. Don't address that. Just figure out a way within the system to make a profit. Yeah, I know they unnaturally labeled you as slaves in the system. Yeah, I know. They unnaturally put some governors and some military and some police and some priests. They unnaturally selected a group of individuals who were willing to sell out the masses to get that high up position. This is the system that you live in. Every kingdom, every single kingdom, every nation under the globe, every single nation, principality has come out of this. And then you have our system, our book. The wealthiest queen of the South in Salem. So not only did the Creator call Abraham out of Ur, and like your ancestors before Nimrod never, ever, ever fell for this trash. And so since I'm in a generation that's following, understand this 3,000 years into Earth's history, yo. This is not the beginning. Nimrod was not the beginning. Noah was 1,500 years into Earth's history. Noah lived another 100 years after the flood. When you get to Genesis 9 and 10, the earth is 1,600 years old. Nimrod comes 5 generations after Noah. It's not the beginning. Abraham, this is why the Creator said, before Abraham was, I am. My people doing it right was before Abraham. This is why he made the statement. They teach spirituality as if Abraham is the beginning. Abraham ain't the beginning. Abraham is the first time God's children began following anybody. The first time his children were willing to follow. And the reason they was willing to follow is because the opposition got organized. The opposition put a plan in place. The opposition put down a game plan. The Hammurabi Code is a game plan. And God's children forgot the game plan that he had established that kept them head and not the tail. That's the only difference now. And all throughout the word, you see queens who, no matter what the lost people was doing, the Queen of Sheba, no matter what nobody else was doing, she was in the right place at the right time, and God acknowledged her. Zipporah, Moses' wife. All throughout the word, yo. Elizabeth, John the Baptist's mother. The word of God calls her upright, perfect. All throughout the word, these queens, the offense to get back to the head and not the tail is written in the legacy of the queens of the South. So we're starting a book club. Start a book club. And every week, we're going to take pages. We're going to take pages out of the playbook of these queens. Why the queens? Why the queens? Because God said, I will not punish your daughters-in-law when they commit adultery, or your daughters when they go astray, because it is the men who have prostituted themselves. It is the men who wrote Hammurabi codes. It is the men who wanted to be worshipped as sun gods. It is the men. It is the men who created these counterfeit kingdoms. It is the men who walked away from the covenant. It is the men. In every age, it is men like the snake who wanted to receive worship and led the whole family down the same path that the snake led. I don't got a problem with these women. And he comes and he says, husbands, love your wives. Be faithful. Learn how to be faithful like I'm faithful. That's why they want you to focus on the richest man in Babylon. So let me bring you the present day. And let me show y'all how the richest man in Babylon's system of rewarding those who are willing to worship the sun god system, and then enslaving those who are a threat to be reminded and lead the people back to the original covenant with the Most High. That's what slavery is about. Slavery is about make sure you oppress and control those who have the ability to lead the people to freedom. Oppress, stand on the neck of those who could set the captives free. If you got to entice them, if you got to bribe them, if you got to sleep with them. But ultimately, if none of that works, enslave them and exterminate them in ignorance. If they can't be bought, if they can't be bribed, if they cannot be seduced, if they make the mistake of voluntarily checking the box and following, execute them before they can be called and reminded of who they are. That's all you up against. That's all that's going on. So let me show it to you in real time, in real life. And you better know. Hammurabi and Nimrod were Nubian people of color, just like Noah and his 3 sons were. So the people leading the charge and leading you into bondage and slavery permanently are the people who look just like you, who have rejected the king and his covenant. They have made fair-skinned people a boogeyman. So that you always looking at the fake, phony, powerless boogeyman. And the wolves in sheep's clothing that are devouring you in your own homes go undetected. The European ain't got no power. The European can create nothing, hasn't created nothing. It's the people, Nimrod, Pharaoh, Nebuchadnezzar, Belteshazzar, all of these kingdoms are Nubian, just like our ancestors. The only difference is you have faithful ancestors and unfaithful frauds. And if you don't learn to distinguish, if you don't learn how to listen to the warnings, Paul said in his day, the grievous wolves have already come in amongst the flock. Meaning, those who know they can't compete with us head up. Those who know that if they stand on one side of the field and we stand on one side of the field, and if they straight out the closet say, yo, we stand over here, we serve this God. And then when we come on the field and we say, yo, we faithful to the Most High God, the Creator, let's go. Paul said in his day, they done already threw in the white flag. They already, in my day, are in amongst the flock, still worshiping they same gods, because they know they don't even have a fight. So because of the power that we have, because of the growth that we are experiencing, they don't even dare opposing us. They coming in amongst the ranks, claiming that they joined in our gospel. In his day, he said it in his day. Claiming that they joined in our gospel, and they picking off our people. And then from the inside out, they spreading their cancer of idolatry. They spreading their disease of lawlessness. They're sowing the seed of deception and doubt. The grievous wolves have already come in amongst the flock 2,000 years ago, homie. He ain't talking about Romans. He ain't talking about Greeks. He ain't talking about Europeans. He's talking about his people. Your city counselors, your mayors, your governors, your politicians, your NAACP, your Urban League, your Essence, your Ebonies, your Jets, your HSBCUs, your Black Greek fraternities and sororities. They've been here all of this time, yo. They've been here all of this time. Going to church every Sunday. Going to church every Sabbath. Ain't no exceptions to this rule. None. And the only reason why that our people can't get back and see the same power and deliverance that they saw in the Exodus, talk about total break free. The only reason our people can't see crossing the Jordan into the promised land, the enmity that the Creator has promised, is because our people have not stood still, opened their eyes, and identified, listen, we ain't with you, yo. You won't represent me. Because you willing to be a part of the richest man in Babylon system. And our king is the king of Salem. The king of righteousness. That's how he presented himself to Abraham. First he called Abraham. Go to a land I will show you. Walk before me and be blameless. Then on his way, when Abraham got to Sodom and Gomorrah, and Sodom and Gomorrah messed around and went into a civil war and took Abraham's nephew Lot hostage, captive, and 300 of his family members. Abraham. So I don't care nothing about your Hammurabi code. I don't care nothing about your Babylonian system. I don't care nothing about your money changers, your banking, your how your laws state that, yo, when we go to war and we take possession of these, listen, they are a possession. They are the spoils of the war. It says in our Hammurabi code, Abraham proved. Your little Hammurabi code ain't got nothing to do with the everlasting law of the Most High God. And not only did he go in there militarily, by force, It says he plundered the kings who created this system that you willing to be subservient in. He plundered the kings and had the wealth. And then the Most High God showed up to take his cut, to let all of the kingdoms of earth know, I called this one. I gave him the power. And he presented himself to Abraham as the king of Salem. That is what he called the earth. I own the cattle on 1,000 hills. And he came to demonstrate to the kings that were defying him, like Nimrod, I am the king that owns these lands. It ain't called Africa. The Germans named it Africa. In 1885, the Berlin Conference, some Germans called our lands Africa. And these clowns that y'all follow got a nerve to promote heritage and culture of Africa as if that is our original identity. That's the slave brand. Shaka Zulu. They promote Shaka Zulu because Shaka Zulu's back got broken, his kingdom got taken from the British. No matter what, they want you to be subservient to the British crown that the Vatican has outsourced the colonialism of the world through. So they promote the Zulu. You know how many kings and queens before God left took his spirit from those lands like he took his spirit from Saul? Do you not know that if you are defiant after God reminds you over and over again, he will take his spirit from you? He will curse the lands and say, let me see you in your defiance get prosperity out of these lands that's cursed. Prior to God taking his spirit from the lands of Salem, it was called the fertile lands. But because of repeated defiance, and once they made their decision like Pharaoh to have a reprobate mind, meaning no matter how many times you try to remind me, I'm going to be defiant. God say, I turn you over, homie. Same thing with Sodom and Gomorrah. Burnt to the ground, your defiance. Ain't no riches in Babylon. Y'all gotta know that the richest man in Babylon today, everybody else is a smokescreen. The only thing you need to focus on is the fake sun god father in Rome. Don't nobody else had he don't even have no power. But every single system on the earth is an extension of the fake sun god father, just like everything was an extension of Hammurabi. Everything was an extension of Nimrod. Whoever the fake sun god father high priest is, everybody in their system is somewhere in the class system acknowledging that fake phony sun god worship high priest. And it is your job to overturn the tables with whatever call has been placed on your life, whatever talent and ability has been placed in your life. Stand up against any structure, any system, any governor, and stand in your inheritance. and let the real father, let the real father show up and declare to the world, just like he did with Abraham, all of the principalities can do is bow to the Most High's heirs. That's all they could do. And when they bow, the Father always shows up. This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. When his son did battle with Satan for 40 days in the desert and passed the test, head up battle, I'm going to allow myself to be weakened 40 days, and you still ain't going to be able to touch me. And after, in his weakened state, head up battle, you could bring all your angels, your principalities, head up. What you want to do? After he demonstrated to the world, he can't touch me. Then the sun came down out of the, Satan ran off with his tail between his legs again. He right, I can't take his life. No man take my life, I lay it down. Then he went and found John the Baptist. Come on, so I could show my people how they could cleanse themselves and dive down into this covenant with me. Take me down into that water. He's like, nah, master, I can't. He's like, yo, if you don't do this, you don't have no part in this. This ain't for me, this for them. Just do what you told. John baptized him the minute he went in the water and came up, the Father came to him just like he came to Abraham. Holy Ghost descended like a dove. All of heaven. Declaring to the whole world, declaring to the whole, it wasn't nobody watching. You know who was watching? Satan and them angels. Declaring, this is my beloved Son. Y'all clowns for worshiping, for following that snake. Y'all clowns. This is my Son. And the Most High is the same yesterday, today, and forever. If you stand like his Son stand, all of heaven gonna move. All of the principalities gotta bow. Every fake king, every fake governor, every fake got to bow. And if they don't, the Father got something for them too. If you study the history of when individuals tried to defy the Most High, when the Most High's children put themselves back in position, every time he throws them into confusion and they destroy each other. Every time. This is the way the Most High wages war against Satan and the principalities. Because his children got a habit of taking credit. He don't even allow his children to fight on their own behalf. The only requirement is that they put themselves back in position. Get clean. Acknowledge the only authority, period. And when you're in position and then they bring defiance to your door, I move every time. This is the military strategy of heaven and earth. There is no other strategy. And the principalities and Satan and all of them know it. And they running bluff after bluff after bluff to make you think that they could do something to you. To make you think that they could force you to worship a system. They can't force you to worship nothing. This is why the king told you, perfect love casts out all fear. They have never been able to force us to do nothing. only thing is we've forgotten the blueprint of how to put ourselves back in position. So the best way to help my people is the same way that the master helped his people in that day. They was farmers. They was shepherds. They understood the economy around being a farmer, a good sower, around being a shepherd. And they were full of bigotry. So when he hit him with the parable of the Good Samaritan, yo, that is the ultimate slap in the face for the fake Hebrews. Good and Samaritan, those two don't even go together. That's like saying to Adolf Hitler, the good Nubian. That's like saying to the British, what I say every day. We are God's children. And they can be God's children too. He said, I come to call the wicked. First to the Hebrew, wicked, then to the Gentile. Why did he label Abraham, the father of the Hebrews, wicked? Because Abraham was in Babylon, Ur of the Chaldeans, at the bottom of this richest man in Babylon financial system, worshiping the fake sun god father, following after the high priesthood and all of that. And the Gentiles, the Europeans, were in this Babylonian system too. And just like the Hebrews, the Europeans, when God sent Paul and all of his disciples, go into all the world, go up to the Gentiles and let them know the Hebrews was wicked and I called them, and now I'm coming to call y'all. And 2,000 years later, these Gentiles are still rejecting and still choosing the same Babylonian sun god worship system. And now we coming back to the hood. We coming back to our people. And we saying, yo, the Hebrews done made their choice. The Gentiles done made their choice. Our king is about to come back. And your identity ain't in the Hebrews and ain't in the Gentiles. You are the original creation of the Most High God. And every European can tap into this. Every fake Hebrew can tap into this. Every last one of the grievous wolves who have been deceived into trying to get success out of this fake, phony sun god worship system, they can drop that. That's what the rich young ruler thing was. The Most High God came and checked him. He like, bruh, your riches, your rulership is connected to a fake counterfeit law. The rich young ruler was a teacher of the law. This fake richest man in Babylon system. And God said he loved him. But he said, that law that you pumping, you're an attorney promoting the Hammurabi Code. And I am the OG code creator. You know what OG stands for? Whenever you see me put OG out there, that stands for only God. They throw around God like it's candy. God. They accept their awards at the Golden Globe and they say, I'd like to thank God. They throw out candy. They throw out God. Listen, you have to separate God like you got to separate yourself. The only God. He's not common. Ain't nothing else on his level. Can't nothing else create. The OG is the only God. So what a slumdog billionaire is, well, I'm defining what that is. A slumdog billionaire is what the King of Kings was, what Abraham was in Sodom and Gomorrah. When you turn over a slum situation, when you turn the tables on the money changers, and then you restore prosperity. You restore cash flow. When you take your call from the king and you use your connection to that power to right the wrongs, you are a slumdog havillionaire. A havillionaire is a real, it's just as real as a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire. It's 36 zeros. It's 36 zeros. Because that gold that they presented to the King of Kings, he received gold, frankincense, and myrrh. That's the original currency that he gave his children. The good gold of Havilah. Havilah gold. Your economy, your finances are based on the original gold that he gave his son and his daughter when he made his covenant with them. Havillionaires. And then when their children went astray and they turned their promised lands into slums, every time he has called his children back to the original covenant with him. And those children that respond to the call and then they replenish and they restore, they repair the damage, they do reparations. They are slum dogs, havillionaires, doing only God's service. The only thing wrong with the Hollywood version of Slumdog Millionaire, the only thing wrong with the Hollywood version of Slumdog Millionaire is he hit the jackpot and he left the neighborhood the same. But that's what millionaires do. That's what billionaires do. They hit the jackpot and they leave the system in place. That's what trillionaires do. They get their bread in the system and they leave the hood the same. That's what's different between the original money changers. That's what makes us slumdog havillionaires. Oh, we go and we save the girl. Oh, we fall in love. Because that's the wealth. That's the exchange. He transferred the wealth of heaven to earth, to Adam and Eve in a marriage ceremony. That is the wealth. Slumdog millionaires, it's the blueprint. We find all of ourselves coming up in these slums. We find all of ourselves with our women being attacked, just like that little girl was attacked all her life in Slumdog Millionaire. Human trafficking, she endured. Drug dealers took her and made her a prostitute. She endured it. The brother of the dude that she loved and that loved her, the brother raped her. Hollywood come out with this Me Too movement. Me Too, Me Too. They the ones raping all our daughters. You go to audition, you sit on the acting couch, and they rape our girls. And Me Too, for real. And everybody in our community is cool with getting the bread in this system and not coming back and rescuing our daughters and our wives and our sisters. No, we ain't slumdog millionaires. We ain't slumdog billionaires. We slumdog havillionaires. And every Tuesday, I'm going to give y'all opportunity to become slumdog havillionaires. He gave us the blueprint. All you got to do is bring your little 5 loaves and your 2 fish. Bring your 5 loaves and your 2 fish and put it in the pot. And everybody in the neighborhood going to eat. That's it. That's the blueprint. Slumdog havillionaire. The little boy that contributed to the feeding of the 5,000 is a slumdog havillionaire. That's the blueprint. Put your 5 loaves, your 2 fish. I don't care what it is. It's easy to determine. Most of us could simply go back and say, yo, How much did I spend on Christmas? You want to know what amount you should sacrifice? Most of y'all can go back and be like, yo, I felt the need to spend this and spend that and get this gift and get this gift and get this gift, get it. Okay. Whatever amount you spent on Christmas, whatever you felt the need you had to give a gift for a pagan celebration, pause. Take that same amount and bring it and put it in this pot. In 2020, every person who wants to become a slumdog, this is what the 12 disciples did. They like, I'm gonna stop getting it in the richest man in Babylon's way, and we're gonna come and let the original OG code creator show us how to transform the slums. And did they get it done? Oh, did they get it done? They'd have been fishermen for life and never had prosperity. But when they took their little 5 loaves and they 2 fish, and he tried to get the rich young ruler, and he tried to get all of the people, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, all of them. He tried to get all of them to take the little 5 loaves and 2 fish and put it in the pot. Y'all sitting here asking me to overthrow the Romans. This is the way to overthrow oppression. You want me to do it your way. That's our problem. People want God to deliver the way they envision he should deliver in a life, when he had given them the same system that he gave Abraham to overthrow the Babylonian system that they were enslaved in. But they rejected it and chose the slave master over the king of heaven and earth. And we're doing the same thing right now. Asking for deliverance. And he even gave us the blueprint. He like, run the play. Now let me show y'all. Let me show y'all what it looked like. How they artificially manufacturing wealth. And then they're creating generational poverty. And all you got to do is compete and apply the blueprint, money changer. I don't know why I love you, but I do. Even when they give up, they are dying every day. No phone call. Their family will be thinking that person is dead. They have lost it for our life. You know that you just in one place suffering. Going back home now, I'm totally frustrated. I don't know where to start from. Because I spent my life savings leaving the country. You understand? This is a live slave trade. Our brothers and sisters fleeing from West Africa, migrating, trying to get to Europe. They're jumping in boats in North Africa, Syria, Libya. They're catching them in the water, bringing them back and selling them as slaves. Right now. All over Africa. And then Donald Trump plays these games. We let them entertain us. They got slave trades going all over Africa from migrants. And they play these games. Your politicians know about it. And NAACP know about it. The whole world knows about it. The whole world's cool with it. Are is God's children cool with it? When you done it unto the least of these, my brethren, you have done it unto me. And he's given us assets in the United States of America that we waste and squander. He's given us resources. Even the poorest in the United States of America, we not seeing nothing of what they doing to our people. And we still going out in Christmas and breaking bread. Instead of bringing the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and collectively saying, listen, we're going to put our stuff in the pot and we're going to turn over the tables of the money changers. And we're going to stand in the covenant. And then we're going to let the Father move. The one who called us and told us to stand. Nobody in the United States of America, nobody knows. You've not seen hardship. Oh, but it's coming. And whoever is not standing back and doing exactly what we're supposed to do, the Lord is going to allow the devourer to bring it to you because of unfaithfulness, because of following and not leading. It's coming. Donald Trump's job is to bring it to the USA. That's his job. That's why he is here. Rome pacified the people with the circus, the circus, the circus. Blood flowed in the circus. They created the system of welfare where they fed the people bread, oil, salt, and entertained them in the circus, entertained them in the circus, entertained them in the circus, entertained them in the circus. Infiltrated the gospel that was given to them. Changed the gospel back into the same pagan system. They've done the same thing right now. So we're going to come and we're going to give y'all the playbook. We're going to show y'all the offense. We're going to show y'all the defense that they run against y'all. We're going to show y'all how we're going to respond. We're putting our money in the pot. We've been putting our money in the pot. We're putting dates on the calendar. We're coming to different cities to establish the elders. It's the first thing that Zipporah's father taught Moses how to do. Put the ancestor structure of governance in place. By neighborhoods, towns, families. And the people who stood out, who stood in the covenant the most, that's who the leader elders were. And the people saluted the elders in their community, the elders in their neighborhood. Their children ain't never been governed by no outside lawless individuals. Never. It's time for us to get back, yo. We leading in charge. All y'all gotta do is come get it. Peace.